What's up, JEFusion fans? This is Philip and welcome back to another video. So, Kamen Rider Gavv, episode 45. So, there is a point in the ending that's kind of blown my mind actually. So, why is it so? Now, a few months back, so almost a year ago already, and I mean like really at the beginning of Kamen Rider Gavv. So I made some predictions as to how the show would end. So I already made predictions, yeah, that early on. And it seems that one of those predictions for the ending might be coming true, but with a twist. So before I continue, I just want to make sure that you guys are up to date with the latest Kamen Rider Gavv episodes because there are going to be some spoilers for episode 45. And even though as of this recording, it's not out yet, so like it's coming out the following week. So there are going to be some spoilers for episode 46 as well, if you would. So just in case. But anyways, again, as with these videos, I would like to remind everyone always to catch up on the latest episodes because there are going to be some spoilers. Otherwise, enjoy. So, going back to my statement about making prediction about the ending of Kamen Rider Gavv. So one of the endings that I've stated is that Shouma is going to go back to the Granute world and become the new president of Stomach Inc. So episode 45, so this kind of prediction is starting to take shape, and basically like I think we are going in that direction. So what basically happened is that Neil appears to Shouma with a proposition. So this is interesting because even though we have seen Shouma fight against Neil in like more recent episodes, so Shouma was of course basically doing his job protecting like people, and that's what he's always been doing. But notice Neil, like again, he does fight Shouma, and because Shouma is just trying to stop Neil from like what taking people, turning them into spices for their dark treats. So some common sense stuff. However, if you look closely, amongst all of the Stomach siblings, it's only Neil that doesn't really show any outright hatred towards Shouma. So, he actually he's the least I would say like he's more of the indifferent one, like I could care less type of person. But in episode 45, like we see something that's quite different. So again, compared to someone like Jeeb or like even Nango, so we clearly see they hate Shouma just because he is. But episode 45, right? So again, basically everything is in here. So Neil shows us something completely different. Again, we've seen him fight Shouma many times already, or at least a few times ever since Neil actually started taking action himself. So he shows something completely different from the other siblings. He shows some interest in Shouma. Now, let me explain this part. So, again, the other Stomach siblings hate Shouma because he is a half Granute, right? So they just basically call him Red Gavv as a derogatory term. But even though Neil does do the same, like he is definitely less extreme about it. Again, unlike Jeep, who basically threw his life away if you can call it that. So he's basically destroying himself just because he hates Shouma so much, and blames everything that happened, or blames every misfortune that happened to the Stomach family on him. So again, Neil cares a lot less about that. So what Neil was trying to say is that his interest in Shouma actually comes from the fact that he is a half Granute, and basically tells Shouma that there is a potential power, something hidden in Shouma that's quite unprecedented in the Granute world. So again, going back to my prediction a long time ago, so my main prediction about the ending is that Shouma again will become, or Shouma could become rather, the new president of Stomach Inc., and use it as a force, to bring happiness to Granutes the same way, like snacks brought him joy. So he wants to share that with Granutes, right? So it's like a Shouma thing to do. But here comes the twist with Neil. So again, he comes to Shouma with a proposition. He offers to work with Shouma. Like, if you really want to stop all this madness, if you really want to protect this planet, or, if you want to protect this world, the human world, come with me. Let's take down Boca together. But not only that, so again, like I've mentioned, so Shouma had the possibility of becoming the new president of Stomach Inc., right? And this is one of Nielv's propositions. How about you become the new head of the Stomach family? Right? So Nielv is offering that position to Shouma. But here's the kicker. Not only that, but he meant that, again, by defeating Boca. So there's this plan. So let's work together. Let's take down Boca. You get to be the head of Stomach Inc., right? But another thing that Neil says is that by taking down Boca, you get to be the new president. President by what now? He's going to be the next president of the Granute world. So again, we're taking that new president of Stomach Inc. higher to the next level and have Shouma become the new president of the entire Granute world. So that is basically what Neil is offering Shouma. And of course, Shouma is like, how can I trust you, basically. So Neil makes the offer kind of sweeter, in a sense. So Neil sends 2 huge boxes to Happy Palace. So using, of course, like the Granute dimension doors that they use to, hop in between the human and Granute dimensions. So basically, when Shouma opens this box, or these boxes, like there were at least 2 big boxes that arrived. Inside, there were a lot of compressed people. People that were supposed to be used to make dark treats. Neil just gives them all back to Shouma, right? So, like, here you go. Here's a bunch of people that we've kidnapped. They're gonna be free to go. How about that? So, are you gonna join me in my plan? So, basically, that's what happened, right? And there was a note inside one of the boxes, although it's in Granute script, so we don't really know how it's read, but, like, we can say, for example, like, this is my end of the bargain. How about you meet me somewhere and we'll talk? So Shouma gives his decision. So he decides to agree to Nilv, work together, and they're going to take down Boka. Now, this is where the potential ending of Gavv could be taken to the extreme, if I will. So, in my proposed ending, with Shouma being the new president of Stomach Inc., so, yes, he goes back to the Granute world, and again, by being the president of Stomach Inc., so he brings happiness to the Granutes. But this ending could still offer a chance for Shouma to, come back to the human world anytime he wants, or maybe even have like Sachika and Hanto over, from time to time. So, like the potential for Shouma and his friends to meet up even after, everything has been said and done, and like everybody's happy. So again, there is still the potential for Shouma to meet his friends. However, in this version of like my proposed ending, so Shouma has to go to the Granute world with Nilv and stop Boka from whatever he's trying to do. So he's basically so to put it simply, Boka's entire plan is to dominate the human world, not really killing humans outright, but again, basically use it as like a farm to, artificially make, you can say like they could artificially make humans into spices for their dark treats, and that's how, Boka intends to maintain power over the Granutes as well. So he's trying to rule both worlds for that ambition, However, with Nilv's plan, so he and Shouma, so like Nilv says like, I'll be the brains, you be the bronze. So we take Boka down together, right? And Boka is an incredibly powerful Granute that even with Shouma's, abilities with the like the Overmaster forms, so we can see that he's still having a hard time. And this is coming from the episode 46 preview, by the way. So again, the upcoming episode that's not out yet as of this recording. Now, the plan is, so they defeat Boka, right? And this should stop Granutes from invading the human world. However, Nilv's proposal is that, after they defeat Boka, Shouma gets a chance to completely sever whatever dimension or, whatever portals connect the Granute world to the human world. So, yes, this should stop like Granutes from entering the human world, but this would also mean that Shouma will never get to see his friends again. And not to mention, now that Shouma has actually found his human relative in Masaru, so at this point, Shouma hasn't even told Masaru that they are actually related. So he cannot really tell Masaru what actually happened to Michiru. And, there could still be a possibility, but we don't know when. But let's say that Nilv's plan works. So let's say they are able to take down Boka. Shouma like completely severs the connection between the human world and the Granute world. So again, if this does happen, like Shouma will never get to see his friends again. Shouma will never get to tell Masaru that they are related, and I guess this kind of leaves us in a gray area, if you will. So Masaru still wants to know what happened to Michiru, but considering how horrific, uh, you know, like things happen in the Granute world when they turn humans into sweets. Again, we saw that happen with Hanto's mom, and like it's much worse if someone like Masaru found out that such a horrifying thing happened to his sister. I think it may actually for the best that he never knows. But that's just my opinion, though. But again, the point of the matter is, if Neil's plan succeeds, Shouma will never have the opportunity to come back to the human world. And again, that could also mean that Hanto or Sachika don't have the opportunity to get to the Granute world. Although this would mean that Rakya might be stuck in the human world, but considering things that have happened, he might actually just stay in the human world, for all I know. He doesn't really have a motivation to go back personally, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, he's doing much better after moving to the human world, and no, he already got his vengeance when they defeated Glota, and Komel has been avenged. So I don't see any other motivation for him to go back to the Granute world. But this still begs the question: what is Neil's end in all of this? So why is he actually offering Shouma to become the next head of the Granute world, actually? So we really don't know. Is he going to end up betraying Shouma? But there are so many things that I think could happen in that case. So there are still things that we have to see and find out in upcoming episodes, but it's definitely, a climax that is very interesting to watch. So how is Shouma going to protect both humans and Granutes? Probably. So we know so far that not all Granutes are evil. So at least the evil ones, quote unquote, are the ones who have consumed dark treats, but there's still like a minority of them, and that's like the goal of Boka, right? So turning humans into dark treats so that he can share it with all of the citizens or the denizens of the Granute world, keeping them all under his control. So again, that's what Shoma and Nilv are gonna try to stop. But what is Nilv gonna do afterwards? So is he actually going to just continue his research and whatnot, or is he going to backstab Shoma after like their supposed victory? So let me know what you think down in the comments. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Please do leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget that notification bell so you get the latest from JEFusion. This has been Philip, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!